we're live. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. I'm Dana DuBois.
I'm Lawrence Winterman.
That is my best friend here in Seattle.
That's my best friend.
Lawrence, how are you?
I'm good. I'm tired. I feel like I'm never not tired anymore.
Is this a Substack problem? Is this a late-stage capitalism problem? Is it a multi-hyphenate problem? What? Yes, universally true.
Yeah, yes, maybe all of the above. I think late stage capitalism, multi-hyphenate. Yeah.
I agree. So Lawrence is here in Seattle right now this week. I live in Seattle. Lawrence, you still live in Seattle, for those of you who don't know. We've seen each other, but kind of barely because there's so much going on,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
kind of wild. Maybe this weekend we'll make time to hang out. Maybe. I don't know. I'm hoping that.
Honestly, maybe I've got so much I have to do.
Oh, honey, I know. I don't know about you, Lawrence, but I feel like we're in sorry to use a really kind of hackneyed metaphor, but we've cracked all the eggs, but we've not yet made our omelet,
Ooh,
right?
that's an interesting metaphor.
You've heard that before, right? You have to crack a lot of eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah. No, that's right. Did you just make that up?
Yeah, I did. I'm brilliant. Right. But I feel like there are eggshells all over the place, and maybe in the eggs themselves, like there's some shells are in there and I'm picking them out. Um, and then my dog is here. So yeah, it feels crazy making. And then the world we're in is crazy. And then your paper of the paper of record, the only paper I'm still paying for, the New York Times, goes and publishes something that women like me are ruining the workplace. And then I try to read that story because we're going to be finally talking about it today with Carlyn Beccia, who we'll be bringing on in just a moment. And I'm not exaggerating, Lawrence. I couldn't stomach the article, like stabbing gut pains as I was reading it. And I was like, gosh, are you such a softie that you like that whole idea of you have to read multiple viewpoints? Like I'm trying to process right now of why I can't sometimes.
Right. Well, Dana, I think, according to the people in that article, that's just an indication of the vices of feminism. And
Right. Yes. After 3 decades plus toiling in various states of joy and misery about it, let me hear about why I and other women have destroyed the workplace because we're woke. We'll talk about this more in a few minutes when Carlyn comes on, but the starting premise, I'm trying to think of how to word this because it's coming to mind just this morning. And sometimes I'm slow to process as I'm weaving parts together. But in my life, if someone approaches me and uses a certain kind of language or framing, whether it's on the street or online, there's certain things just disqualify that person.
yeah.
Yeah. And so unless there's someone, who have power over me at work or something and I can't get rid of them. But let's say on a dating app, some guy leads with you're not one of those libtard feminists, are you? It's just sort of thank you for kicking yourself out of humanity as far as I'm concerned. And I on Substack too, so we both have this philosophy now of Carlyn, I see you're great. We're going to add you in 2 minutes and bring you into this conversation. You are A-okay. I see you're asking about a link. But do you know what I mean, Lawrence? If someone comes up to you or writes a comment on Substack, that there's certain language or starting points that you're nope, I have nothing to do and nothing. I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah, I have been talking about this a lot lately that, I know who I am. It may have taken me 55 years, but I'm at a point now where I know who I am and I know what my beliefs are. And I now fully trust my ability to interpret signals from the world. Like, I
Yeah.
don't need anybody else to interpret for me. And so
Getting signals. Yeah.
when I read that article, I was just like, you poor people, you poor three people who are basically just cranky conservatives debating the fact that the world is changing and you don't like it. And,
Yes.
I read the whole thing, and I get why. I mean, I absolutely get why so many people are so offended by it and why it hit you like a gut punch. But also, there was a piece of me that was just like, this is just dumb. Like,
It
none of
is,
you are making cogent points.
right? And it was, but to go back to that feeling of like, you see a comment on Substack and you're like, nope, goodbye. And they cease to exist. But when the paper of record, like the New York Times, is giving voice to these three wackadoos, like this to me is like wackadoo beliefs
Right. Right.
being validated by the alleged liberal leaning, like very serious paper of record, like that, you can't just hit block. It is then part of the cultural zeitgeist that we're all going to pay for. And I think that's kind of wrecking me this morning. Usually we come on and we talk about something else first, but I'm still kind of reeling. And it's not like this is the first time this has happened in my life, and especially not in 2025. But that Overton window, that idea that the window keeps moving is like, can you even imagine a year or two, the New York Times giving voice to the question of like, are women just destroying the workplace?
I
Like, it would have been laughable.
It Yeah, and, I mean, it is kind of a perfect encapsulation of the media landscape that we're living in, and I
Uh-huh.
think why places like Substack and other places where, we can find voices like our own and kind of come together, why it's important, right?
Right. Why independent media is important.
Yeah,
It's just making me very cranky that we views that should be norms, the ones that are being pushed to independent media. Like I'm like A2 New York Times, like this may be the one now that I've actually read part of it that I have to unsubscribe. I just can't in good conscience give money to that man's paycheck.
yeah,
But then I'm like, I have no like traditional legacy media subscriptions left at all. That makes me feel like a cuckoo person. Like, nope, there's not a single mainstream paper that's, woke enough for my views.
yeah,
Woke. Anyone who uses the word woke in a negative, like
right,
it's a pejorative,
pejoratively, yeah,
is like, like as soon as I just shut down. And that might be like a me problem of like, I have to learn not to get gutted by it and to just read it impassively. But I'm like, my rare and precious life. I don't want to spend, this is a long fucking article.
yeah,
I,
no, I agree, and I mean, when it comes to the term woke, I absolutely, like, a badge of honor for me. Like, you're gonna call me woke,
yeah,
great. It means being awake. It means having your eyes open to the full nature of the world, including the injustice that has existed for thousands and thousands of years that gets whitewashed out of history. Like, you're gonna call me woke? Fuck you, man.
yeah, fabulous.
Right. I am. I proudly claim that label. Fuck
Right.
off.
You're calling me a feminist like it's a bad thing? Like,
Right.
okay. I'm a feminist killjoy. I should have worn my feminist killjoy t-shirt today, Lawrence. It would have been better. Let's bring Carlin on. The
Yeah.
one thing that will cheer me up about this is talking to you with all of you folks in the audience and getting to talk to Carlin. Carlin is one of my very favorite writers online. I first saw her on Medium. And this is one thing I want to talk to her about, like, which is this huge following on Medium. Um, uh, Not as huge a following here on Substack, but her writing about kind of political, sexual, and cultural issues from this very scientific and very measured lens is so welcome. And every time there's a new story by Carlin, I kind of drop everything and go read it. So with that intro, I hope Carlyn, it's ready to go. I saw you come in, so I'm going to add you. And yeah, she wrote a takedown. Actually, I'm going to put that in the chat while we're waiting for Carlyn to join. I shared it on my wall as a note this morning. Carlyn!
Good
I did the
morning.
tech right. Look how fancy I am. I bought
You
one of
did
those.
it.
I bought one of those little ring stands, so now I'm like a professional.
Oh, yeah, totally pro. You're well lighted and yeah, everything is great.
Love it.
Yes, you look beautiful. Your hair looks great. Your
Still
background
wet.
is awesome. Still wet. Perfect. Perfect. Mine is unbrushed. So
Yeah.
it's Saturday. It's only 9 a.m. here. And so yeah, my Saturday rule now is I just grab a hoodie. Like other days of the week, I try to make more of an effort most of the days, but Saturdays, I'm like, absolutely not. I am waking up. It's part of the Saturday charm. We're so happy to have you here today. Um, would you like to introduce yourself a little further than my gush about how much I enjoy your writing?
My name is Carlyn Beccia. I'm an author illustrator. I also write on Medium. I have been for, God, 6 years now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, on the side. I've published 13 books now. My market is mostly history and science, trade, not academia. Um, and I heard you guys talking about the recent New York Times article, and I have some thoughts.
I
Excellent.
I'll put this link in again since the chat's moving pretty quickly. Um, you should absolutely read these thoughts. I was, in my bed on my phone that I was like, all right, I have to finally actually read this full story because we're talking about it instead of just snippets. And like I am not exaggerating when I was like, ow, like um yeah, grabbing the bottle of Mylanta and being like, I feel like I'm being stabbed. And it went away when I read your list of the 15 ways in which women ruined the workforce, which I loved, and I want to walk through all of these. Um, but first, like, I want to hear where were you when you saw the headline? Was it the original one or the softened one? It's not all women, it's just liberal feminism in the workplace. Which headline did you see and how did you react? What was your like gut punch
So
reaction when you saw it?
I actually read Helen Andrews' original article in Compact back in October.
Mm.
And,
Mm,
when I read it, you never want to give credence to some of these conservative right wing religious wackadoodles. She has a Bible background. Her background is in religious studies. And I'm really tracking the conservative groups because I view them as very dangerous and sort of eugenics adjacent at this point.
Mhm.
So I
1,000%.
I read her article on Compact, and it was actually The Atlantic did a pretty good takedown of her and I of her views. I'm sorry. And when I read that, I was like, took care of it. It's settled. But then New York Times gave a different platform for her. And that
Yes.
platform wasn't nuanced. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Doug Houtat, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's the conservative writer for New York Times. So if you enjoyed the article, you'll even enjoy their video interview even more because they had another, you know, their roundtable of three people
Yeah.
it was three conservatives. I don't view God, I'm gonna forget her name, Sargent. I don't view Sargent as being having a liberal viewpoint. So
Yeah, was she
also
supposed to be the liberal viewpoint?
she was
Because
supposed to be, and I'm
oh
just like,
god.
yeah. And I always read the comment section in YouTube because I think it
Yeah.
gives you a good pulse. And everyone's like, wow, this is such a nuanced and a cordial, civilized conversation. And like, everybody agrees. I'm like, yeah, that's because they're all saying the same thing.
Right.
There's no like if New York Times wanted to have a nuanced and wider debate, they should have invited someone like Janet Hines on, who has a complete opposite view of the science behind gender. And that's where it gets dangerous. And I want your audience and readers to understand this. It's not that they're just saying women ruined the workplace. They're saying women ruined the workplace because women are designed through evolutionary science
Yes.
to ruin the workplace. And that's where we get to eugenics adjacent, where, and I used to say this and people used to say, you're being hyperbolic. And now people are starting to listen to me because the Hitler comparisons are just getting a little too close to comfort.
Yeah.
And you guys did a wonderful job of summarizing the woke and definition. As we all know, woke just means stay woke. It means if you see injustice, call it out. Same thing you do at the airport. You see someone carrying around a bomb, you don't go, oh no, I'm just going to ignore that. You
Right. I wonder
see
what that unmarked luggage is.
yeah, you see a CEO grab a woman's ass, you're like, no, we don't do that anymore here. And,
Yeah.
most men don't want this either. That's the thing. They're kind of speaking for all men. And if you speak to most men, they don't want, men grabbing people's asses by the copier machine either.
Right.
Nobody wants
Or
that.
a workplace where, as they cited, the friendly competition in the workspace is doing push-up competitions.
Yes.
What's that? I don't want to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't read that far down. My God.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we don't need that. It creates an unprofessional environment. And Andrews uses so many examples that are cherry picked from science, but she rejiggered them to fit her thesis. One of them, at one point in the interview, Doug asks her, well, what is a feminine vice? And she says, well, that's easy, gossip. Women gossip, and that's how they destroyed the workplace. But if you look at the research behind it, gossiping is a human trait. We all gossip.
Right.
Gossiping isn't even a bad thing. It helps us form, we get off this phone and we'll gossip like New York Times. Can't you believe them? That's gossip. Gossip is just deciding who your enemies and friends are.
And Carlyn, what really struck me about that moment in the interview was she's talking about the warrior versus the worrier thing, that men are warriors and women are worriers. And the entire example was, well, men as warriors, they need to be hierarchical. They need to understand and trust each other so that they can protect, take wounds for the family. But women are warriors who gossip and who compete with each other and take each other down. And I was like, so you're taking, even if I was going to buy into this framework, you're taking the sort of evolved male perspective of we can get along and cooperate and form teams that are hierarchical versus the, unevolved female perspective of, we haven't learned how to collaborate. And it just the disconnection there was disgusting in the fact that they were grounding it in those tropes to begin with, but then sort of framing it as, well, we're going to take the best virtues of a male perspective and the least best virtues of a female perspective and compare those as if they are equal. And it was just the poorest framing and the least articulate, kind of metaphor to kind of describe what she was trying to talk about, because it's literally not comparing the virtues of any human nature. And it was also, I think, fundamentally just misreading which virtues are, the idea that certain virtues are masculine and certain virtues are feminine is repugnant to me in the first place. So
and
it was
true. And it's true. It's just, I mean, every neurologist has debunked, and I'm not, because I have a lot of evolutionary psychologists for my readers, and they always correct me, and sometimes they're right, because I tend to lean on the cultural side more than the genetic side. And the genetic side scares me, but there are genetic links. Take sickle cell anemia. Black people tend to have that more. You can say that. White people also have it. There are definitely genetic.
Tay-Sachs, the Jews get the Tay-Sachs, right?
Determinism. They're using biological determinism. But I would ask readers and audience members, and this wasn't my idea. This was Jen who over at iHip made this point. She said, imagine if you took that headline and you replaced it with how Jews ruined the workplace.
Right.
How Black people ruined the workplace.
Girl, I think it's coming. I mean, this is the movie
exactly.
over.
And let's be clear, you could probably get away with how gays ruin the workplace, because
Oh,
they're on the front line too. So these are
Oh,
the people that are on the
100%.
front line, and we have to stand strong, and we don't allow any of this. You shut it down immediately, because now it's women ruin the workplace. It will be Jews ruin the workplace next.
I
Definitely.
mean, there are a lot more women than there are Jews. As a Jewish woman, I'm more offended by the woman part than
Yeah.
the Jewish part. Like, how absurd. You're
Yeah.
50, half of us are ruining the workplace. I wanted to, before we move too far off of the gossip idea, that part was a gut knife. But I did read something from Christy Coulter. Do you know who she is? She wrote the book Exit Interview about her time spent at Amazon. And it's what was the subheading of it? It's like the life and death of my career ambition. But she's not someone who's just bashing Amazon, but she has this very thoughtful memoir of what it was like to work there for about a dozen years as a woman. And she's I know her personally. She's great, and she's also brilliant online. And this is what she had: three quick things to say about this story, and about gossip in particular. What we call gossip is sometimes just people communicating via the only channels available to them. Pre-Me Too, women routinely warned each other about workplace predators because we could not, and still can't really, rely on employers to do it for us. So we used whisper networks, aka gossip. Want to reduce women's, quote, gossiping about workplace power dynamics, from harassment to promotions to who's getting the boss's attention? Then then eliminate the need. Otherwise, suck it up, because you're not going to stop us from helping each other survive.
I love that. That's so
Mic drop.
beautiful.
Like,
That is
you're calling it
beautiful.
gossip. We're calling it back channel communications. Like,
survival tactics.
Coalition. This is
Right.
yeah,
pro-social.
Yeah.
This is how we
gossip.
survive.
Gossip makes it sound like we're like, have you seen Carlyn's hair today? She looks,
Yes.
I think she maybe got extensions. Oh my God. Like, that's what you think when you're gossip, right?
Yeah.
So-and-so's sleeping with so-and-so, or what, like,
Right.
most
Were
of
the
the
committees of
workplace.
correspondence during the Revolutionary War, was that just gossip networks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what I hear at work as gossip is like, you don't want to go to that team. That leader's
Yeah.
doing this, that
Right.
manager's, and it's not all about men. But I mean, I will tell you hands down, most of the problematic managers I've had have been women, not because I think women are ruining the workplace. It just happens to be there are bad men and bad women in power, right? Like, it's not like my gossip network has been about these like sexual harassment woke things. They are about survival, though, and they're not only
Yeah.
done with other women I work with. I just like all of those premises make my brain melt. And I know it's anecdotal, but like, Lawrence and I have a cumulative, 60 to 70 years of history in the workforce across all kinds of tech giants and smaller companies in Seattle and beyond. And I'm like, the reality that those three were talking about. First, names always amuse me, and I don't know how Russ pronounces it, but it looks like doubt that when you look
Right.
at his name.
Right.
Yeah.
I
And so
doubt
that's how I
everything that he
hear,
says.
yeah,
Yeah.
Russ, I doubt that. I doubt
Just
that.
just replace it with assholes ruin the workplace. That's not,
Right.
and
Assholes
Oh
do
my
ruin the
God,
workplace.
yes.
they do. And we need to remember too, if you replace that headline with "This is how men ruin the workplace," that would be okay too. They're pitting the genders against each other, and we got to make this stop, because it's not men that ruin the workplace, it's not women that ruin the workplace, it's assholes. Like,
Right.
just shut it
It's
down.
late
I've got to
stage
say,
capitalism
right.
and investors.
In my
Right.
career, the best bosses I've had have been the best boss I had by far was a woman. The worst boss I had by far was a woman. The woman was not the worst boss because she was a woman. It was because she was a fucking asshole. And I specifically refused to use gendered language to describe her, because that's a cheat. She was a fucking asshole. It wasn't, and it wasn't because she's a woman. It was because she's a bad person.
I also want
Exactly.
to point out, so they're using this, very inflammatory headline: "Are women ruining the workplace?" But where they jump in first is starting to talk about the word woke. And even as the usage of it in this story is like what we would refer to as woke. And the reason they're doing that, A, is because it is sort of a slang term, but B is because I wish there had been like, well, why don't you define what woke means? And it doesn't mean women. Woke means anyone that's not like the heteronormative white dude in power. In the views, they don't say that directly, but they're
Mhm.
using women as a headline when what they mean is a workplace where men can't behave badly like they used to.
Right.
And so women are being used to take up, I can just see in their heads all the like, all these affinity groups and these DEI woke initiatives. Like, that's what they mean when they say woke, right?
Right. No, they
Yes.
do
Mental
literally
health.
say that later in the article. I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
the
Yeah, one
Fox
day
News definition. So when they say woke, they mean the Fox News definition of woke, which, you said earlier that whenever you hear the word woke, you shut down. And the reason why you have this visceral reaction is because wokeness is just being an empathetic, kind human. And we keep reminding them of that, and they keep going, no, it means, they'll keep using the word meritocracy. Every time I hear them say the word meritocracy, I'm like, there is no meritocracy. There is not in life. I tell my kids life isn't fair. Like, don't expect merit to take you anywhere in life because luck has so much to do with it, and so does money. And they don't want us
and
focusing on the
biases
money. Yeah.
and biases.
Yeah.
That's what.
It was interesting, Carlin. I'm interested to hear what you think about. So later in the conversation, they're kind of talking about SpaceX as this exemplar of a place that, requires so much dedication, and that that women who are interested in having families who might want to get pregnant shouldn't work in these places because the company just demands so much rigorous thought and dedication and time that it's not
Yes.
conducive
It's the
to.
only way I know how to respond to stuff like this. Okay,
Right.
carry
Well,
I
on
mean,
now.
and
I remember that point in the interview, and it was really interesting because the example that she used was, imagine if you're sitting down with one of your mentors or coworkers underneath you, and you should be advising them that if they want to go into this tough, high tech field, that they should be putting off having children. And I'm thinking, like, why would you tell any coworker what to do with their body and when to have their family planning? I'm like,
to freeze
don't have
eggs,
those.
to
Yes,
freeze eggs. She literally
have those
said that.
have those conversations with your friends. I mean, if you're telling your female coworkers what to do with their eggs, maybe you should walk yourself down to HR and review the handbook about staying out of people's private lives and professional atmospheres. And that's what the thing that annoys me so much about conservatives. They are in everybody's business. Like the trans thing. Like, why are you so uncomfortable with your sexuality that you have to butt in to people's business? Why are you telling women to freeze their eggs and, you know, family planning and everything? It's just to stay out of people's private lives.
Right, right. I read the entire thing and I just came away thinking, and maybe you heard me say this at the beginning, like I really just thought, well, these are just three conservative people who are very, very sad and scared that the world is changing. And, I guess maybe what is conservatism other than that, right? People who don't want to be flexible in their kind of adaptation of their worldview, basically saying things are changing and I don't like it.
Right? Can we pause and have like my brain melted at the subhead of conservative feminism. And I was like, that's like being like dry water because like the core premise of feminism is around equality. That doesn't mean
Point.
we're the same, but it's around fairness and equality. And the core premise of conservatism is hierarchical, and the man leads. Like they are at odds. And to normalize that there is a thing called conservative feminism, they simply can't exist. That's like having a
Fire and
feline
water.
dog.
Yeah.
You
What?
can't do it.
Where can I
Yeah.
get some of this dry water? I need to hydrate without bloating.
Yes. Yes,
Like,
exactly.
right? Oh my god.
Exactly.
I
And
but
and they could correct because people are angry at New York Times. They should correct it
yes.
by having another panel and having actual progressive view on. That is the
Oh,
right thing to do at this point.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, who do we need to pitch at the New York Times to
I
make
mean,
that happen?
Janet Hydes comes to mind. She's the one who developed the similarities hypothesis that she found through neurological research that men and women's brains are so not different. And that's where the danger comes in because everything that she's saying is kind of true. The stereotypical true that women tend to act this way and men tend to act this way. Those stereotypes happen for a reason because they're true. But what they don't get into is the reason why they happen. It's because we socialize children to act a certain way. One of my favorite studies that there's so many, but one of my favorite is where they took parents and they had them create this huge slide for babies to go down. Babies who are just learning to crawl. They weren't torturing babies. And the girl babies, they were like, oh, no, 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 precious, like, oh, be careful. And the boy babies were like, just, going down. And the mothers were like, oh, yeah, boys just being boys. We socialize our kids this way. And it has effects, the argument that more women go into healthcare and nurturing professions, that's because women are socialized that way. And it's a good thing to
Yes.
be socialized that way, by the way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. We
Nope.
need nurturers in the world, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
don't say that it's because biological determinism that men are
Right.
genetically coded to be warriors and women will be warriors with an O. That kind of bullshit is eugenics adjacent. And as
Right.
soon as
Yes,
they
it
start
is.
going there with genders, if you're a hop, skip, and a jump to saying, disabled people need to go, and
Right.
gays are freaks,
Right.
and Jews get blamed for everything, so they're always on
Autism,
the
yeah.
chopping block.
Those
Yeah.
autistic kids, we gotta put them
Yep,
away. Yeah,
autistic
all of
kids.
that
Yep.
comes,
Right.
like, I don't want the world we're talking about right now, and, um, we're having
As a
an
gay Jew, I worry that these people are going to put me on the first train. As soon as the oven's open, I'm first in line, you know?
yeah, it it's one of those, like, we get told not to get lost in our liberal bubbles, our blue bubbles, and to see what other people are saying and, to be able to hear one another. And in theory, yes. And also, right, when you're starting a conversation with, "Hey, aren't women just ruining everything at work?" Right now, especially in an environment where we are, our reproductive health, our bodily autonomy, all of it going away, you're coming at me now. And also, like, uh, we're excelling um, in like more college admissions are girls. We're going into careers more. We're financially more stable. Like women are killing it. Men are falling behind. And now, as we women have been keeping shit afloat at work for so long, now you're coming and you're like, you guys are the problem because you just are like, you worry too much. You're just sensitive.
Yeah, that's
I
such a
just
woman
can't.
trait. To be woke is
Such
so
a,
woman. Woman is
and I
woke.
think like as Gen Xers, we have seen the workplace shift in the ways that the story is complaining about. And I am here to tell you all these woke things. For as much as late stage capitalism, blah, blah, work is not great, it's better because of these things. It is like, as someone who's worked in tech for a very long time, it is better to work at a company where you have to take mandatory mental health training
Yes.
because it helps all of us. It is better to work at a place where there are guidelines and rules from HR about what you can and can't do. It's better to work in a place where people have FMLA and they can take mat leave and pat leave when they have their babies. I wish we had more time. Is it disruptive when your coworker leaves and there is no backfill and blah, 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 blah? And do we adjust well? No, we crush the people who stay behind because we're not, in my opinion, being quite woke enough and being like, you know what? We either need to hire a contractor to help or we need to lessen your workload. That's another story. All of those things, I cranky Gen Xer likes to joke that like the millennials and their sensitivity made my life better.
Right.
Because it's now okay to be like, I'm taking a mental health day. I'm using my
Yeah.
PTO. And we have the free, you don't need a doctor's note. You don't need to prove you were sick enough. You can simply say, I need to take a break, right?
Well, and let's acknowledge, Jana, that even that is a bit of a privileged point of view because that's true in tech now. It's not
Yes,
true in other parts of the workforce, right? That it
completely
hasn't changed.
true. Thank you for checking me there. But I feel like the workplace that these folks are talking about, where all this DEI wokeness came in, is specifically referring to these companies that, in the 90s and the aughts, as all of these companies were gunning to become the next big thing. Like, people were working 80 to 100 hours a week and um, really failing as humans because of it. Um, there are still places where people are working that hard. You're still welcome to work that hard, man or woman, if that's what you want to do. But there are some guardrails now that weren't there before, that if these three thought leaders who are, have a huge platform and who are being underlined by a very serious paper of record, are out there being like, that's just woke and men need to be warriors and do push-ups and grab women's butts. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
Mhm.
it just makes my brain break. And then I wish I could say women were the ones who made all those things happen. I don't know that that's true. I would bet that it's not. I don't have data points in front of me, but there is plenty of research that substantiates that, you know, people who do take care of themselves and who do take time for their family are better and more productive workers. Teams that are diverse
Yeah.
are better teams, and they create better outcomes for
Fran-
businesses.
Frances Perkins, right?
Yeah.
First
Yes.
first woman cabinet member, first Secretary of Labor,
Oh,
40-hour work week, Social Security, retirement funds, literally the person who, upon observing the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, realized that, people were
yes.
being oppressed, that women
Yeah.
specifically were being
Good.
taken advantage of in the workplace, and made it her mission in her entire life to get better working conditions for everybody, regardless of gender. So
Everybody.
I don't know,
Yeah.
women making the workplace worse or better. I'm going to vote with Frances Perkins making the workplace better.
Well, I would pose this question to your readers and your audience members who are listening. Have you noticed lately that if you work in an office or a corporation, typical
Yeah.
9 to 5 job, have you noticed that upper management or the corporate culture is getting more, we want more work out of you lately? Like, we want a 60-hour work, like work-life balance. Yeah, that was cute, so I've been asking people this question, so I'm curious. I'm too far away to see people's responses. I'm curious if people are experiencing that, because I've spoken, this is, because this is anecdotally, I've spoken to a
Yes.
lot of people recently who have said they are working us to death again. Like, we're going
Yes.
back to
Absolutely.
the 60-hour work week.
All
Yep.
the
And
hearts
that
are
is,
flying up right now.
yes.
And Yanni just said I'm working 50 hours a week and still being called lazy. Um,
Mm,
e- I will say yes, and I will say with all the layoffs that we see now starting to rear back up again, like, it doesn't mean workload decreases.
no,
So
the
Right.
opposite. And
And
we're going back the opposite way. If there's more of a supply of workers, upper management, CEOs and billionaires can demand more. They have the power right now. And as long as the labor job market is flat, like Powell said, who knows, we can't get the job numbers. But he said his words, and I take Powell's seriously because he never exaggerate. He said the job market growth is practically at zero. He used the word zero. So we are having basically a shift where the billionaires are taking over all the power in the workplace, and it will affect a trickle down effect to everybody. You will be expected to work more. You will have fewer rights in the workplace. You will get less
oh yeah,
vacation time. All of that is going to happen, all because wokeness is gone. That's what wokeness means. Wokeness means work harder for the man. Anti wokeness means work harder for the man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the whole AI trend, it's not actually eliminating work. It is taking over some tasks, giving billionaires an excuse to lay off more people, and then the people that
Yeah.
are left are being told, well, AI is going to fix this for you, except that it doesn't, because it is literally the worst beta product in the entire world. It is not ready for prime time in any way,
Yes.
and creates more work than
Yes.
than it solves by
Or
far.
even better, they're like, you need to go figure out how to make AI help you make your job more efficient so
Right.
you can do more. So
Right.
there's the additional work of trying to figure out how to make AI do your work.
Yes. And AWS is one to watch, because Amazon, what they're doing right now is they're going into all these companies and they are promising that AI will replace all these workers. I have spoken to so many tech people at big companies I cannot name, who are high up, whose main job, they come home every day and they say, my job, I'm working with artificial intelligence with the sole purpose of reducing headcounts. So this has been sold to all these billionaires, and it will be able to reduce headcounts eventually, but there's a lot of hype around it too. And tech people will tell you this, that they're being pushed to use AI in ways that it's not capable of doing yet. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it won't get there, it
Yeah.
will, but it's not there yet. And the billionaires are all, especially Amazon, is selling going into these companies, and they're selling their system to big corporations, saying Amazon can reduce all your headcount. Here we can, through, within 5 years. And the CEOs believe them.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if it works. It matters if the CEOs believe them.
Right. Carlin, Dana, and I can tell you that is absolutely happening. We have
Yes.
seen it from the inside. It is really
Lawrence,
happening.
a
Yes.
very old phrase just came into my head that I think you will appreciate it. I'm not sure if I'm still pronouncing this correctly. Ich habe meine Zunge gebissen.
Right. I'm biting my tongue.
Oh,
Yeah, Lawrence took German in high school and taught me a few select phrases, and I haven't said that in years. Did I say it correctly?
Yeah. 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 That was pretty good. It's
that was
actually,
pretty
I have
good.
bitten my tongue. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's all I can say on that subject. Don't you? Isn't there a second half, and you can say, "And now I've bitten it off." I don't remember how to say that part.
Oh, I don't remember that either.
Okay, it's been a long time since Lawrence took German. Um, yes, and that's why I find headlines like this one extra alarming.
It's
Mhm.
Of like
interesting that they changed it, right? It's interesting that the
They
yes,
headline
changed it.
changed. Yeah.
They changed it
liberal
to liberal.
feminism.
Well, I'll tell you the most alarming part about it for me, out of the entire article and all her points, was that women entering the judicial system, and that includes female lawyers, because let's face it, lawyers are our heroes right now. If you know a lawyer,
Yeah.
hug them. If they're on the good side, if they're on
Yeah.
working for Trump, kick them in the balls. But her point was that when women moved into the judicial branches of government, um, their their emotionality made them not create sound judgments in court case, because women this was just blew my mind. She used the Kavanaugh case as an example, where people believed Ford because she came from an emotional stance. That woman was so poised and just like, let me tell you the sign. And meanwhile, Kavanaugh is like crying and talking about beer
Oh
and
my
histrionics, and it's just,
God.
I was just reading that and I'm going, are you really going to use that example? I mean, and then she went on about cancel culture, how that's female and that's woke. When meanwhile, I mean, the biggest cancelers in this administration are these whiny titty babies like Vance. And you want to get into gossip and cancel culture? Release the Epstein files. We're going
Right.
to keep gossiping about it. Just release it.
Yes.
Closure. Act like an adult. Give us closure, and we will stop gossiping about it. And you can say it's manly. It's manly to
Yes.
release the Epstein files.
Right.
Right.
This is
I mean, that'll cause a reduction in workforce if we release the Epstein files and get rid of all the fucking pedophiles.
seriously.
Carlin, that just made me think of the whole. I feel like this is related, and maybe we could kind of explore how exactly. But Megyn Kelly, who people are very amusingly calling Megyn R. Kelly at this point, basically saying 15-year-olds, a parent helping a trans 15-year-old medically transition is not good, but a 15-year-old having sex with an adult man is okay because the kid's not 8. Like better
Yeah.
15 than 8 or something. Uh,
Mhm.
I-
Well,
it just strikes
I'll
me.
tell you, I think it's important that we point out the hypocrisy of this. And I recently came across a Washington Post article, and it was about Rockbridge, which is owned by Peter Thiel. And what they're developing right now is performance enhancing drugs. Okay, so let's think about the hypocrisy of that. Their big argument is that trans kids have an unfair advantage. Meanwhile, they're developing performance drugs? Like, make it make sense. Come
Right,
on. I
right.
mean, it's all bullshit. They're all trying to get us to hate certain groups. It's either trans or immigrants. This week it's women. Sorry, half the population. But that's
Right.
their con. They get us hating each other and fighting each other. Meanwhile, they steal all our tax dollars that should be going to healthcare and our benefits because we're too busy fighting the wrong monsters. Simple as that. I mean, Hitler did it, Stalin did it, they all do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm remembering. So I only started writing in earnest about 2.5, 3 years ago, and it was on Medium. And one of the very first articles I wrote was a retort to the New York Times. I'd forgotten about this till just now, and it was about. I should go find it. I think it was about how menopausal women were ruining the workplace. Do you remember this story? Hold
No, I
on,
don't, but tell me about it and tell me the
I'm finding it
article
right
so I
now.
so I
Uh,
can look it up later. Because menopausal woman, this goes back to medieval times. If women lived beyond a certain age, they were freaks and witches. So
Right. They were
right.
witches. Yeah.
yes.
It was okay. Usually New York Times. I'm trying to find it quickly by searching, and usually Medium has pretty good SEO. Have you noticed, sort of tangent here, sorry, Substack has really weak SEO and
Oh, it's
Medium has really
horrible.
strong, and I can't quite figure out why, because I now post everything first on Substack, and it's the
So
same content. It should have higher domain authority, I would think, but
I'm trying to figure this out myself, and my boyfriend's a tech guy, so he's trying to help me. And once I figure it out, I'm going to write an article about it, about
here
how
I
to get
just
your
found it.
Substack, because there are certain steps with SEO you have to follow. I know this is a tangent why you're looking for that,
Yeah,
but
no,
if
no,
I
no.
figure it out, I'm going to share it with readers. But so far, I have not figured out the secret sauce to get your Substack SEO ranked.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, one of
crazy.
them is you should post there first because it's telling them, like,
Yeah,
this is
canonical
where it's more
links. Yeah.
important. But my story was called "Getting Hired as a Woman Over 40 Just Got Even Harder," and then the subhead is "We have the New York Times to thank for that," and I have a picture of this. So the story was called "Study Shows the Staggering Cost of Menopause for Women in the Workforce. Some are taking sick days. Others are cutting back their hours. Still others are quitting altogether." Ugh, I'm not logged in on this computer. Let me just
So
copy the
is
link.
there claim that menopausal women are not as productive as
Y-
non-menopausal women?
Yes.
Is that their oh
I
wow,
got into
wow.
like, it's it's been a couple of years, so I'm refreshing my memory here. Do 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 do.
While you're
It
looking
was
for that, I
it's
read a really interesting study that will kind of contradict that and it was not about gender, but it was about how our brains develop. And they're actually most developed after the age of 50 because that's the point where your knowledge starts to get transferred into wisdom. There's a difference between intellect and wisdom, and that's the point where the intellect and wisdom combine, where your vocabulary is large enough at that point, your knowledge of the world, where you actually get to the point of wisdom. And as humans, we should all want to get to wisdom, not be smart, be wise.
yes, a
Right.
thousand
It's
percent.
the metacognition piece, right? Where
Yes,
you have enough
exactly.
lived experience in enough different fields that you can start to see the patterns that emerge across fields and across experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, the way that we devalue so much that should be valued in this society is absolutely insane.
Yes. So this story was talking about $1.8 billion cost of working women ages 45 to 60 approximately, and how 15% of women in that age group report they've missed work due to their menopausal symptoms. A little over 1% they quit or were laid off due to debilitating symptoms. And and then they toward the end of the story, they quoted a woman saying, "I thought it would be better to leave than be fired. It's horrible that we as women have to work through this craziness. I routinely feel bad for us." But no mention of like hormone replacement therapy and like the fact that it gets better. Like, yes, there are times when it's hard, and then that's mostly. I actually have a story started about this of like no one talks about that. Like once you're through menopause, it's kind of awesome to me. I mean,
Yeah.
like you
I'm
stabilize. You're
not
not on a
there
30 every
yet,
30-day cycle.
but yeah, I mean, the way they talk about do you guys follow Jen Gutner? She talks about
Yeah,
menopause
I
a lot.
love Dr. Jen
She's
Gutner.
she's
She's
great.
great.
Everybody should follow her for the
Yes,
science-based knowledge of it. And we've
yes,
had, I mean, she talks about the ruse with denying women this medical care for a long time.
yes.
And you don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but you kind of start to think it's like, why you had this medication that would help reduce hot flashes and the brain fog and all of that. And you didn't give it to women because there was this cancer link that wasn't really there. I mean,
Flawed study. Yeah.
yeah, flawed
One flawed
study. Like,
study. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah,
I get into that in this story, but I think that story was 2023. Like it was long since known that that's a flawed
yeah,
study, and that a lot of medical professionals have caught up, and women can typically find either through their doctor or through like internet companies
yes.
access to hormone therapy. And not all women can take it. If you have certain cancer risks, you
Breast
can't.
cancer in your family.
Yes.
Yeah. Ask your
Um,
doctor. Like, let's just use common
Talk to
sense.
your doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. Amber Hull. I don't know if you follow her here on
Oh,
Substack.
yeah. I've heard
She's
of her. Yep.
Yeah.
oh my gosh, we
She's
had her on
great.
a couple times. Amazing.
Hmm.
But that the New York Times just ran this story, and it ended with these women like, it was so hard. It's so hard to work and be menopausal. Crickets, like no women who were like, hey, you know what? I kind of came into my professional power in my late 40s and I'm killing it at work. And I take HRT or I manage my symptoms in other ways. It's not really my job's business, but like I'm here and I'm full of power, like nothing. And so, yeah, the premise of the story, even a few years ago with the New York Times, was like, why are you making it even harder for us? We face so much workplace discrimination as
So
Well,
much
women,
with
but especially
ageism.
older women.
Yeah.
and what's funny about that is speaking as a 55-year-old male who has gone through andropause, which is also a
Is a
real thing,
thing. That is a thing.
is a real thing that
Yeah.
results in depression and lack of motivation and tiredness and et cetera, et cetera. Why is nobody talking about that? Like I'm on testosterone replacement therapy because it fucking works and it makes
It
me feel
works.
better and
Yeah.
is remarkably available to men. I'm part of the cohort that sort of watched TRT get rolled out to everybody in our age cohort because it fucking works. And suddenly everyone realized like, oh, hey, I don't have to feel like shit when I turn 50 and my body's natural testosterone production starts to go down. Crazy.
Lawrence, as you're saying this, you're saying everyone in my age cohort. Can I just say, like, I think that's a gay man thing? As you're talking, I'm like, no wonder it's so hard to find a man to date. I don't think straight men take this.
I think, you know what, you may be right. Actually,
I, I don't know
there's
straight men.
probably some research I could do here. It is definitely a gay man thing. I do not know a gay man over the age of 50 who is not on testosterone replacement. I seriously, not a
Men
single one.
are there are it depends if you have low testosterone. There are men, men walk around with low testosterone and don't know it. There are
Right.
Yeah.
symptoms of it.
I'm
But
thinking of all
yeah.
the depressed men I know.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'm like,
testosterone is a funny little hormone. Women always associate it with men, but women actually have a lot of testosterone, and men have actually, you know, a level of estrogen that they have to monitor too. So the hormone story gets convoluted when you think of testosterone as
yes,
a male hormone and estrogen as a female hormone because it's the balance that matters. It's, as one, that's why they test before you can go on to, because women can go on testosterone too,
yeah,
but they test it before you go on because they want to know your levels.
yes. I am
Everybody's
not on
different.
it, but I know some women who are, and I have been curious of like, oh, I wonder what that would do. I'm now picturing the ad campaign, Lawrence, for TRT, but it's set to the tune of AC/DC's TNT. Tune of TRT. I know, right? Like it's right there, you guys.
Right.
They'd probably give you the song.
Yep.
The remaining, like the surviving members of AC/DC could probably use the money. They probably want the drug. Go do it. Make this happen.
Yeah, that's the takeaway from this talk. You're all woke. Go get testosterone.
It's
Hate and women are not your problem
Yes.
in the workforce. Like,
No.
I'd like to think, like you said, some wisdom has come with age for all of us.
Yeah.
And just at the highest level, like the story's been out for a week and a half now, and we haven't talked about it that much here. And I think this is like my oldest daughter thing that guides so much of my life is if it's really bad, if your younger sibling is pestering you, you ignore it because you don't want to put attention on it and shine a light on it. I do think it was important to pause and shine a light on how awful this is. I do hate that I'm sure the New York Times views Russ Dowd that as being very successful with this story.
right. He
Because
got
it's brought
tons of engagement.
tons of engagement, and that is the only measure that matters, and that and dollars. So I don't know, you guys. Do I quit the New York Times?
No, because you need to know what they're saying. I mean, so I get that about the Washington Post. Someone today said you don't get your information from the Washington Post. I'm like, I'm not getting information. I'm getting propaganda. I want to know what the propaganda is. Like,
I
this
will
is
not give them my money. I quit the Washington Post when they declined to make a presidential. When they
I
declined
know,
to
and that's a really good stance, but I need to know what they're saying in order to
I
write
know
about it.
Yeah, no, that's totally valid.
it is.
I still pay for the New York Times as well. I quit the Washington Post over the Kamala thing. But I absolutely get the point that like we do need to keep apprised of what the, billionaire class is trying to force down our throats in terms of propaganda. I just yeah, I don't know. I'm actually so broke right now. I'm not paying for the New York Times, so maybe I'll just keep it that way.
I'll send you all the gift articles.
Oh, yes, there you go. Yes, that would
Yeah.
be great. That would be appreciated.
And I know there are other parts of the New York Times that are doing great work. It's just we're so powerless that, like,
Yeah.
here we are giving Russ some more attention for his, like, truly horrific point of view. Like, it's not that I think this is just on the other side and bad. It's a horror for women.
Yeah.
And, as the mom of two daughters who are on the brink of womanhood, I'm like, this fuckery is horrific.
Yeah.
And
And
I don't.
I meant to piggyback on Lawrence's viewpoint on the
Yeah, please do.
Megyn Kelly thing about how they're moving the bar from, it was just 15 and then, it wasn't 8, it was 15. Everyone knows what they're doing there.
Right.
They and we have to call it out for what it is because when you start to move the bar that it's okay for 15-year-olds to be viewed as a woman, a 15-year-old that's why someone posted a picture of their 13-year-old self. And I was like, oh, wow, I would love if this became a trend. All women posting pictures of their 13 or maybe 15-year-old self to say, hey, this was me at 15. If a pretty lady with a British accent came up to me and said, hey, do you want to go back to I would hope most people wouldn't, but she was very maternal and smart and she had a British accent.
Right.
A lot of 13-year-olds might have fallen for that,
Sure.
and
Especially if they were coming from bad circumstances.
Exactly. They preyed
Poverty.
on women who are coming from bad circumstances. So we need to put a face to what Megyn Kelly's words are, that here's me at 13. I was a girl then, not a woman. Do not call 15-year-old girls women. They are not women yet.
Yes, I did. I had a short, because yesterday was crazy, but interesting conversation through direct message with Elizabeth Sillick, who's another content creator here on Substack who we love. And she brought up an interesting point that it's hard to have nuanced conversation right now, right? Because yes, what Megyn Kelly is trying to do and what conservatives are doing, I had to look up the word. The difference between a pedophile and a hebephile is a pedophile goes after prepubescent kids, and a hebephile is going after postpubescent kids. And
Oh, I've never
they're
heard that
trying to
word. I learned
equivocate.
something new.
Medically, there's a distinction, but culturally, they're the same. Yeah, this was my fucked up Friday story yesterday. It was about Megyn Kelly and how she's trying to move that Overton window of like, he wasn't really a pedophile because she was just like barely legal looking, and
Yeah.
how dangerous
What's the
that
word
is.
again?
Elizabeth's point,
Hebephile? What's the
yeah,
word again?
Hebe, hebephilia, or
Hebephilia.
maybe
Okay.
pronounced Hebe, but I think it's hebephilia.
All right. All right. I'll
Um,
look that up.
and so, but Elizabeth's point, and I think it's about there as part of the nuance conversation, is teenage girls, some of them are having sex, right?
Yes.
And that's okay
Yes.
when it is, with their peers, when it is consensual, when there's an enthusiastic yes. And she herself was a teenage mom. She had a child very young. And so she's getting upset that the conversation is moving again to putting the blame incorrectly, that like all teenage girls are virginal and blah, 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 and have no agency. But she's like, the emphasis has to remain on these grown-ass men who are being predators.
That's a good point.
And
I catch myself there because you're right.
Yes.
It has to be on and not. All right, I
And it
take
is
back what I already said. That's a bad idea.
it's
Bad
so
idea, people.
it's because we're able to have this nuanced conversation and recognize that like what Megyn Kelly and her ilk are trying to do is normalize at 14 their fair game, evolution, biology. Men are dick, testosterone soaked dick monsters, as Stan Savage likes to say, and they're fair game. You should expect it. And that's simply wrong. That doesn't change the fact that teenage girls have agency and are coming of age, but that needs to happen in a gentle, like age appropriate way. And it has to be their enthusiastic yes with their peers. Like
Yeah.
it unquestionably becomes gross. Well, and rape is wrong at any age too. I did see like some mentions of like, it's not like they turn 18 and suddenly it's okay.
Yeah,
If you're being
that's a good
trafficked
point.
and having sex against your will, like going from 17 to 18 or whatever the age of consent is in that state doesn't make that action any less wrong. So these are the nuanced parts of the conversation. But when people are moving that Overton window so far to just be like, women are ruining the workplace, or it's okay to have sex with 14-year-olds, like you have to fight so hard against that the nuanced conversations become impossible. And that's so frustrating.
Yes. And
'Cause
that's
I
what they're
felt like,
doing. They're
yeah,
distracting us with that
we were on a path in
conversation.
this country, again, as a Gen Xer, but we came of age at a time with like never before seen freedoms and possibility ahead of us in terms of work and in terms of waiting or deciding if we wanted to get married and have kids and financial autonomy. Like all these wonderful things happened as we came of age, where we were legally protected. In terms of bodily autonomy and being able to get loans and own homes and da 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 da. And to me, it always felt like those were set. We had them.
Yeah.
And then we got to start having the more nuanced, interesting conversations, maybe around, hey, expecting 80 hours in a work week is unfair. Hey, we need maternal leave where we can't get laid off for getting pregnant. Hey, we shouldn't fear for, sexual harassment to be harming our chances of growth in the workplace. Like these were nuanced, really good conversations that made the workplace better and safer for everybody.
Everybody kept stressing the everybody, men too.
Everybody with good intent, I should say.
Yes. Get the assholes out of the workplace.
No matter what their gender, of all genders,
Yes.
get them out of the workplace. And so, yeah. And then, making things safe if you wanted to show up as your authentic self in the workplace, putting your pronouns in your signature file. Is that woke? I mean, in the positive sense of the word, yes, it's having an awakening of like, oh, there are people who don't feel safe to show up like this. And now everyone in the workplace is being forced to hear that conversation.
Yes.
To me, yes, is that feminizing it? You want to blame women for it? Great. It unquestionably was a better move in my mind.
Benefits
So
everybody.
benefits everybody with positive intent.
I feel like, all of this is connected, of course, and it makes me think of, the Black Lives Matter George Floyd moment where, I, as a, middle-aged white man had to confront the fact that, oh yeah, I'm liberal, but I'm still soaking in trained racism, right? Societal racism. And there are pieces of my just kind of, subconscious programming that I need to challenge and reprogram because I need to be an anti-racist. Like every moment that's arising in kind of this current age is giving us the opportunity to either change and grow as people and try to see perspectives other than our own, or to basically kind of do the conservative thing and say, I hate change and I'm not doing this, and call it woke and be afraid of it and demonize it.
Exactly.
So now we have added to the cultural conversation around this news story that never should have been. Like, are there no women in leadership in the New York Times to be like, I'm your boss? And
Yeah.
you may not publish this, Ross. Russ, not
Well,
Ross. You
she
may not
did.
publish this, Russ.
She attacked journalists too, because I mean, one of her arguments was that if you made the educational system less woke, then uh, history and economics would change because women wouldn't write about military history or the economics of history. I mean, military history is freaking fascinating. Who doesn't want
Right.
to write about
Right.
military history?
Right.
That's a gendered thing, but that's and I write about history, which is a big boys club. It's it's really hard as a woman to write about history. Not less so in science, believe it or not, because I'm writing about both. And science is less of a boys' club than history. The history argument is that women bring a softness to history. They want to talk about feelings and psychology, and
Good
the
grief.
the argument should be always we need all of that. Like
Right.
at one point, Andrew is talking. A lot of conservatives do this. They claim progressives are trying to tell their schools what to teach when they're the ones who were, spitting flames over critical race theory. I'm like, you're the ones who didn't want us, who were banning books, and now
Right.
you're telling us that we're the ones that
Right.
are trying to control the narrative. You've been controlling the narrative with flames from day one. So we have to call out, calling out the hypocrisies is probably the best way to get under their skin right now, because what they're saying, you made this point already, that conservatives are always about going back in time, but
Yes.
they're going back in time to a point that your white males had a more advantageous lifestyle in the workplace, and if we go back to that, it's not like all men are going to rise up. It's only the rich, powerful white male who will be at the top. It's going to hurt everybody.
Yeah. There was oh my God, why am I spacing her name? Michelle Wolf did a great reel about this story again, where she was like, "Oh, are women ruining the workplace?" Yeah, Todd, we probably are. Did we come in with our spreadsheets and our
Yeah.
logic and our well-articulated arguments and blow your mediocrity like out of the water? Sorry, we did that. Not sorry.
Yeah.
I love her too, and the court jesters typically have the biggest points, but yeah, like uh, if of course there is an element of men, and I'm not saying all men because it truly isn't, who historically were the only ones in the workplace. And so, yeah, it probably did ruin things when other people got to join in the workplace with them because they couldn't just shake hands and drink a martini at lunch, which was, oh my gosh, we
Well,
haven't even
and
gotten into
Carlyn, yeah,
really examples.
Carlyn, in your list, you're like,
Yes.
oh yeah, I'm sorry, Gregory, I'm not the team mother who's going to bring you cupcakes for your
Yes.
birthday. I actually have a job to do and manage a budget of $12 million.
I just put the link in the comments here. I know we're over time, but it's Saturday, so
Yeah.
my schedule's a little looser. And I really want to talk about your response to this. You wrote 15 ways women ruin the workplace. And before we jump in, the guidance I've always given young women at work is I'm like, never, ever, ever clean the kitchen here. Do not clean up other
I
than your
love
own
that
stuff.
advice. I
And
love
do
that
not
advice.
ever, unless forced by leadership, do the unpaid, like, oh, we're going to have an offsite. Dana, would you mind taking on planning the fun activity in the evening and booking the dinner or the team building event? I'm like, do not take that on unless there are other men on the committee too, because disproportionately that shit falls to women.
Yes, that is great career advice. I love that.
Right? Or it's
Yeah.
at least like maybe it's anti-career advice because you're not being a team player, but like, do not clean the kitchen.
Yes.
Ever.
You are not the mother bear of the
Even if
workplace.
it grosses you out
Yes.
and there's like dishes piling up and they're molding, like you go, you wash your own mug so it's clean and you get away from it. Do not take on ever being the mom at work. I mean,
Yeah.
I do love to bake and I will bring in baked goods,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
my own choice.
Not because it's your job.
Nope.
Yes.
Because I like to eat them and I like to share them, but you have some really good ones in here. I have it pulled up. I don't know if either of you do.
I don't. I wrote
so-
that so angry. I'm like, my
you can-
keyboard was on fire.
And I love all the bolding. I'm going to read some of these here and get your responses. First one, women ruined the workplace by showing up with these outrageous requests like not being grabbed.
I mean, everybody's got a story, right? Everybody has a story where some male in power either said something inappropriate or grabbed them. Everybody's got that story. And there's nothing, and it hurts men too to have that kind of environment. We don't need that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make things more productive.
No, my story, very first job, I was a cashier at Swenson's Ice Cream. Next to the movie theater, doing the scoops. I was at the cashier and some boy came in for like a second or third time who liked me. I was 16. And he said in front of my male 30-something, I think, I don't know, he just seemed old, 30 or 40-something manager, what time do you get off? And he said, anytime she wants to, but work is done at 10.
That's kind of funny.
It is kind of funny.
I know I'm not supposed to laugh. I'm not supposed to laugh.
It would be really funny if you said it, and especially now, but I didn't even fully get it at 16.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, you're 16. I'm thinking
I was 16.
I missed the context there. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I was
I
at my
thought someone
first job.
was hitting on
I
you.
was 16 and a teenage boy came in who wanted to take me on a date. Completely appropriate.
Yeah.
I wanted him to take me on a date. But the boss inserted himself and made a really vulgar comment.
Oh, that's
Again,
gross.
I wasn't in danger. Women have had it way worse, but like that's just normal.
Yeah, you gotta do the smile. Smile.
Here's another. Women ruin the workplace by asking to be paid the same amount of money for the same amount of work.
We're still not there yet. Sorry, kids. Remember the
Carlyn?
global pay it's at 56% for women. Global pay inequality. So we're all in this together. We need to raise that.
This one was amazing. Women ruin the workplace by insisting on HR departments that actually do things. And then your subtext, billionaires, which I love that portmanteau.
That's what I'm calling them.
Billionaires hate this because HR used to just be Barb from accounting, photocopying safety posters while the CEO dated his interns.
Yes. If you're Gen X, you have been in that company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Unquestionably. This one was really interesting to me. Women ruin the workplace by ending the beautiful ancient tradition of paying men enough to support a stay-at-home wife.
Yeah. Men in power,
like,
I should say. Men in power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what their privilege allows them.
Right. And this is a place where men really are impacted. They've just reduced wages. Translation, billionaires didn't want to pay anyone enough to support a goldfish. So families need two incomes, but sure, blame women.
Oh my God, yes. That is, I meant to kind of talk about that point during our discussion, but it's such a great one, right? Which is women are ruining the workplace Except that we live in fucking late stage capitalism where you literally can't support
Yes.
a household off of one income, for God's sake.
Yes. And that's why the trad wife movement infuriates people, because it is the foundation of it assumes that you can live off one income, which I don't know many families who can.
No, there's a writer, just content creator named Tova Sterling, who I love. Chef Tova is her identity she's huge on Instagram. She's now on Substack, and she's been doing some long form writing, which is amazing. She's super young. I think she's mid-20s maybe, but she writes about sex and dating and relationships in New York City. And she wrote this brilliant article that she was like a conservative journalist slid in my DMs and asked me out. And she was like, my parents have differing political views, and we were taught to constructively argue. And so she goes out with this guy, and she's Jewish, he's Jewish. And he's like, I want a tradition. She's like, you basically want a Jewish trad wife. And he's like, yes, I want you at home and making my babies. And she was like, okay, so how much money do you make? And he was like, that's a very rude question. She's like, well, this is information I'm going to need if I'm considering this role. You're a journalist. I can't remember which publication it was. And he tells her, and she's like, oh, honey, you can't even afford to date me, let alone support me.
I think that's brilliant, because there's nothing wrong with being a trad wife. You just got to have the income to do it. And if you don't have the income, it's not happening.
She was like, you cannot even support my basic beauty product needs.
Yeah. I love that. I'll have to check out that article.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Tova Sterling is her name on Substack, and she is seriously one of the funniest. Like, she's very sassy, very, very funny people. And like especially her videos have a humor, like they're instantly identifiable, and I've never seen anything quite like her slant, which I look for people like that where I'm like, the originality is off the charts. But that point of like actually calling a guy out and being like, so cool, you want a trad wife, but we live in New York City and you do not make anywhere near enough money to support a trad wife. So you want me to keep working and also do all the labor of the household.
Right. Fuck off.
Yeah. What do I need you for? Because she's pretty blatant about like, I am looking for a man so that I can go be the trad wife.
Yeah.
She's like, I would not mind that one bit. But, you know.
I mean, isn't that every writer's dream, to just have a rich man go off and make all the money?
Right. What have I been doing wrong all these years?
Yes,
right?
same. Yeah. The woman could be the person.
Yeah, please. Let me be a kept man so that I can write and bake things. I would love that.
Oh my God. So funny. I feel like we could talk for like I could sit here all day and not run out of things to not talk about. Haha. We both love soup.
We both love soup. Yes.
I'm going full best in show.
We could talk or not talk forever. We both love soup.
Early Jennifer Coolidge. Carlyn, it's been amazing talking to you about this. My stomach ache has gone away, and it has been replaced with a sense of hope. I hope.
Stay woke. Stay woke, everybody.
Right. Everybody stay woke.
Keep ruining the workplace, women.
Yep. Ruin the kitchen too. Burn it down.
I'm going to go to my SIG file where I already have my pronouns, and I'm going to make them bold.
Yes. Do it in their face.
Take that. I'm going to go join some more affinity groups. I don't have time, but take that, woke business place culture. It is really hard for me though that this is the New York Times.
Yeah.
That this is the New York Times to me is like the Wall Street Journal. I'd expect it.
Yep.
And you know what you're getting, but like, I think you're right. Like, where is the counter story to this?
Yeah, we demand it. New York Times, demand it.
Yeah.
Yep.
We all volunteer services, though. There are people with far bigger blast radiuses and far more educated opinions than my little rant. And also, I volunteer as tribute. But really, pick Carlyn. She's way better.
Carlyn. All right. I need to get going. I have, unfortunately, things I have to do today. But
me too. My mom's calling me right now.
Much.
Thank you for having me, guys. I
love
really
you.
enjoyed it.
Everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you first thing Monday morning.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye bye.